Welcome to the deep dive. We're going to be exploring nanotechnology today.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and how scientists are building materials basically atom by atom.
Wow.
It's like having a molecular Lego set.
That's a great way to put it.
And the source material for our deep dive is a December 2024 article from the Henryk Noworodnjanski Institute of Nuclear Physics, Polish Academy of Sciences.
I see.
It's titled Inside the Nanofactory: Real-Time Insights into Nanostructure Creation.
So we're going inside the nanofactory.
We are. It's fascinating stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially for anyone interested in fields like energy, medicine, electronics. It all starts with nanoparticles.
Right.
I know they're tiny, but honestly, I'm a little fuzzy on why they're so special.
Well, think of it this way.
Okay.
Like a gold coin is gold colored.
Right.
But if you shrink those gold atoms down to the size of nanoparticles,
Okay.
they could appear red, blue, or even green.
Wow.
The properties of materials change drastically at that scale.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
And that's what makes nanoparticles so interesting.
So it's not just about making things smaller. It's about unlocking entirely new properties.
Exactly.
That's why scientists are calling this a nanofactory. They're really building things at the tiniest level.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
This research focuses on a specific type of nanostructure called nanolayers.
Nanolayers, got it.
Essentially, they're coatings made of nanoparticles.
Right.
And they have a lot of potential as catalysts.
Especially in energy production.
Yeah. I remember from high school chemistry that catalysts speed up chemical reactions.
That's the basic idea.
But I'm guessing it's a lot more complex than that.
Yeah, it can get pretty complicated.
So how does it apply to energy production?
So in energy production, like in fuel cells, catalysts are really important for making things happen efficiently.
Interesting.
And the research we're looking at, they use a platinum-nickel nanolayer.
Platinum-nickel.
Yeah, PTN for short.
Okay, PT, I got it.
This combination, it's known for its catalytic abilities.
I see.
It helps speed up the reactions that make fuel cells work.
That makes sense.
But building these things, atom by atom,
Right.
especially something like a nanolayer, it's a huge challenge.
Yeah, it sounds incredibly difficult.
It's like trying to assemble a microscopic machine in the dark.
I can't even imagine.
That's why this research is so groundbreaking.
So how are they actually doing it?
Well, they're using a very powerful type of microscope.
Oh, okay.
It's called transmission electron microscopy.
Transmission electron microscopy.
Yeah, or TEM.
Okay, TEM.
So it's similar to a regular microscope, but instead of light, it uses a beam of electrons.
Electrons.
Yeah, electrons.
Interesting. Why electrons?
Well, they have a much shorter wavelength than light,
Okay.
and that lets scientists see much, much smaller structures.
So how much smaller are we talking?
Like thousands of times smaller than what's visible with a normal microscope.
Wow. So they're seeing things at the atomic level.
Literally.
Incredible.
So with TEM, scientists can actually watch these 59 nanolayers being built.
That's amazing.
It is, but there's a catch.
Oh, there's always a catch.
Right. So traditional TEM requires the samples to be super thin and completely dry.
Okay.
Not ideal for studying chemical reactions, which usually happen in liquids.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's how nanoparticles are often synthesized.
Right, in liquids.
Exactly.
So how did the researchers get around this problem?
They came up with a really clever solution.
Oh.
They developed what's called a liquid cell flow chamber.
Liquid cell flow chamber.
Yeah, basically it's a miniature lab.
A miniature lab.
Self-contained,
Wow.
where they can create these nanoparticles in liquid,
Okay.
but still be able to observe them with the TEM.
So I'm picturing like a tiny sealed chamber
Right.
with a window that's transparent to electrons.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
What are the walls of this chamber made of?
Well, they use 2 silicon chips.
Silicon chips.
Yeah, each with a really thin membrane, like 50 nanometers thick.
That's incredibly thin.
It is, and it's transparent to electrons.
So they can see through it with the TEM?
Exactly.
And what?
So they put an electrode on this membrane,
Okay.
apply a voltage,
Uh-huh.
and then they can literally watch the nanolayer form.
In real time?
Yep, right there in the liquid.
That's pretty ingenious.
It is. It's a really elegant solution.
So what exactly did they see? How do these PD9 nanolayers actually form?
Well, for a while, scientists thought that the nanoparticles formed in the solution and then just kind of drifted over and attached to the electrode.
Okay.
But this research actually disproved that.
Really?
Yeah.
So how do they form them?
They found that the PD9 layer actually grows directly on the electrode,
Oh, wow.
atom by atom.
So they watched it happen in real time with the TEM.
Yeah, and it was pretty surprising.
It sounds like it.
But what's even more fascinating is that The electron beam from the microscope,
Okay.
it can actually act as a reducing agent.
A reducing agent, what does that mean?
It means it can influence how the nanoparticles form.
So the microscope is kind of participating in the experiment.
In a way, yes.
That's wild.
It was a bit of a surprise, to be honest.
I bet.
But seeing it happen in real time with the TEM, there was no doubt.
So they debunked a long-standing theory and discovered a completely new phenomenon.
All thanks to being able to see this process at the atomic level.
Incredible.
It is. It's a big step forward in our understanding of nanotechnology.
So tell me more about what they actually saw.
Okay.
What do these PT9 nanolayers look like?
Picture this. Tiny spherical nanoparticles.
Okay.
Each one just tens of nanometers wide.
Tiny.
Yeah. But here's the really amazing part.
What's that?
On the surface of each sphere, they saw these intricate structures called dendrites.
Dendrites. I've heard of those in neuroscience.
Yeah, they have a similar branch structure.
Interesting.
In this case, they look a lot like a microscopic forest.
Wow. So this intricate structure just spontaneously forms at the nanoscale.
It does, and it's beautiful.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and it gets even more interesting because they could actually control how these nanolayers formed.
Really? Tell me more.
Well, I think we should save that part of the story for after a quick break.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
I'll be right back.
Looking forward to it.
So you were asking about how they could control the nanolayers forming.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's pretty remarkable.
What did they do?
They could actually control the reaction time
Okay.
and even adjust the voltage
The voltage, yeah.
and see how those changes affected the growth of the nanolayer.
That's crazy.
It was really cool to watch.
So what happened when they started changing
It
things?
was like watching a dance, almost.
A dance?
Yeah, like a carefully choreographed dance.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So first, these tiny seeds of the nanoparticles would appear.
They called those nuclei, right?
Yeah, nuclei, that's right.
Okay.
They'd show up on the electrode,
Uh,
and then they'd start expanding really quickly.
like popcorn.
Yeah, kind of like popcorn kernels bursting open.
Neat.
As they grew, they'd bump into each other and merge
And
together.
eventually form that continuous layer.
Exactly.
Wow. And did the voltage changes affect this dance?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
How so?
It was incredible to watch. They'd grow and shrink.
Almost like they were breathing.
Yeah, almost like they were breathing
Wow.
in sync with those electrical pulses.
So they were essentially controlling the size and shape of the nanolayers.
Precisely, by adjusting the voltage.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and that level of control is key to, unlocking the potential of this technology.
Right, because it means you could design materials with specific properties.
Exactly.
Just by tweaking things during their creation.
These are really powerful stuff.
So they're using TEM to see all of this,
Right.
watching these PT90 nanolayers form, and manipulate their growth.
Yep.
But you mentioned another technique earlier.
Oh, right.
STXM, I think.
Yeah, scanning transmission X-ray microscopy.
That's a mouthful.
It is. We can just call it STXM.
Okay, STXM. So how's that different from TEM?
Well, TEM gives you an incredibly detailed look at the structure,
Okay,
like the super high-resolution image.
I see.
But STXM lets you analyze the composition.
So it's like TEM is the zoom lens, and STXM tells you what it's made of.
That's a great analogy.
Cool.
So TEM shows you the shape and arrangement, like a photograph.
Okay.
And STXM reveals the elemental makeup, kind of like an X-ray.
That makes sense.
They work really well together.
So what did STXM reveal about these PT9 nanolayers?
Well, it showed something pretty interesting.
What's that?
The nanolayer wasn't just platinum and nickel.
Oh.
It was actually nickel oxide and metallic platinum.
A metal oxide and a pure metal.
Yep.
Why is that important?
Because it tells us how the atoms are bonded together.
Oh.
And that affects the properties of the nanolayer.
Especially how it behaves as a catalyst.
Exactly.
So it's not just about the shape, it's also about what it's made of.
Right. Both are important for controlling the properties.
So this research is a big deal for nanotechnology.
It really is.
Because it gives us a much better understanding of how these structures form.
And how we can control their properties.
Right, and that opens up all sorts of possibilities.
For creating materials with totally new characteristics.
It's mind-blowing that we can see and manipulate things at such a small scale.
I know. It's pretty amazing what we can do now.
But why does all this matter to, someone who's not a scientist?
That's the key question, right?
Yeah, how will this research actually impact our lives?
Well, nanotechnology has the potential to change a lot of different fields.
Like what?
Well, for one, more efficient fuel cells.
Oh, right, because P and E nanolayers are good catalysts.
Exactly, and catalyst is crucial in fuel cells.
So if we can improve the design of these nanolayers...
We can make fuel cells much more efficient.
And cheaper, hopefully.
Right, which would be huge.
Especially with climate change and all that.
Exactly. We need cleaner energy sources.
Are there other areas where this research could have a big impact?
Oh, absolutely.
Like what?
Well, medicine is another big one.
Okay.
Imagine targeted drug delivery systems.
Targeted drug delivery.
Yeah, using nanoparticles as tiny vehicles.
Tiny vehicles.
Yeah, to deliver medicine directly to disease cells.
Wow, that sounds super precise.
It is. It would revolutionize treatment for things like cancer.
Really? How so?
By minimizing side effects.
Because the medicine is going only where it's needed.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
It's like science fiction almost.
It kind of is.
Tiny nanobots delivering medicine right where it needs to go.
I've also heard that nanotechnology could lead to faster computers.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And flexible electronics, is that right?
You got it?
How does that work?
Well, as our electronics get smaller and more powerful,
right,
we need new materials to keep up.
Makes sense.
And nanotechnology could help us create those materials.
So we could have faster processors, longer-lasting batteries.
Even flexible screens that you can roll up.
Wow, the possibilities are endless.
It really is mind-blowing.
Something so small having such a huge impact.
That's the beauty of science.
It pushes the boundaries of what we know.
And shows us new possibilities.
It's amazing what we can learn from the smallest scales.
I agree. It's a whole new universe down there.
This research on nanolayer creation is a perfect example.
Definitely. It's groundbreaking stuff.
I'm excited to see what other discoveries come out of nanotechnology.
Me too. It's a really exciting field.
This deep dive has been incredible.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
We've gone from tiny particles to huge implications for the future.
And that's just the beginning.
It makes you realize that sometimes the biggest advancements come from the smallest things.
That's a great way to put it.
Well, I think that about wraps things up for today.
Yeah, I think so.
We hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity about nanotechnology.
And all the amazing possibilities it holds.
Until next time, keep exploring and keep learning. All right, so we've seen how scientists are making breakthroughs in nanotechnology.
Yeah, it's amazing stuff.
Building materials atom by atom. Observing them with powerful microscopes, manipulating their properties.
It's a whole new world down there.
But how does all this impact the average person?
That's the big question.
Yeah, how will this research actually change our lives?
Well, nanotechnology could revolutionize so many fields.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Well, think about fuel cells.
Okay, yeah.
We talked about how pit nanolayers are great catalysts.
Right, and catalysts are crucial for fuel cells.
Exactly. So by improving the design of these nanolayers,
we could make fuel cells way more efficient.
Exactly. And more cost-effective, too.
So cleaner energy, that's huge.
Yeah. Especially with climate change, we need those solutions.
Absolutely. What about other areas?
Well, medicine's another field that could really benefit.
Oh, yeah. In what way?
Imagine targeted drug delivery systems.
Using nanoparticles.
Yeah, like tiny vehicles delivering medicine to specific cells.
Wow, that sounds like something out of science fiction.
It kind of is, but it's becoming reality.
So, like, for cancer treatment?
Exactly. Imagine delivering chemo drugs only to the cancer cells.
And not harming healthy cells.
That's the idea. Minimizing side effects and maximizing effectiveness.
That would be revolutionary.
It would change everything.
What about other applications?
Let me think. I've heard nanotech could lead to faster computers, flexible electronics.
You're right. Those are definitely possibilities.
Oh, so?
Well, as our devices get smaller and more powerful...
we need materials that can keep up.
Exactly. And nanotechnology can help us create those materials.
So we're talking faster processors, better batteries.
Maybe even flexible screens you can roll up.
Wow, the possibilities really are endless.
And we're just scratching the surface.
It's mind-blowing to think something so small can have such a huge impact.
It's all about understanding and manipulating matter at the most fundamental level.
And this research on nanolayer creation is a perfect example of that.
Absolutely. It's a game changer.
This deep dive has been incredible.
I agree. It's been a fascinating journey. From the tiniest particles to these grand visions of the future.
It really makes you appreciate the power of science.
It's amazing what we can learn from exploring the smallest scales.
It all starts with asking questions, being curious.
And that's what the deep dive is all about.
Exactly. Exploring the unknown, pushing the boundaries.
We hope this episode has sparked your curiosity about nanotechnology.
And inspired you to keep learning and exploring.
For now, thanks for joining us on the deep dive, and we'll see you next time.